Good morning, everyone. Today is the 10th of April. It's Wednesday, hot day. Hebrews 11 has often been referred to as the faith chapter, but I think it's very important to jump ahead a little bit and look at Hebrews 12:2, which it says, "He is the author and finisher of our faith. For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despised the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God." A number of years ago, I remember when I first saw that verse, "He is the author and finisher of our faith," it really started making sense to me. The relative importance of where faith comes from, the origin of our faith, because I'd always been taught that faith is intrinsic within man, something that man has of their own volition. They can execute it anytime they want to. But as we read through this 11th chapter of Hebrews, I'd like for us to always remember that he's the author of it. We're not speaking of a person's faith, we're speaking of the faith of Christ. And so when Mark reads through this, when it talks about faith, always put in that, I'm going to just give you an example. Through the faith of Christ, we understand that the worlds were framed. Through the faith of Christ, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice. Through the faith of Christ, Enoch was translated. Through the faith of Christ, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark. Through the faith of Christ, Abraham, when he was called to go into a place, received an inheritance, and so on and so on. It's all through the faith of Christ. So it's real important to know the origin of faith. How many times have you heard the name it and claim it people say, "You don't have enough faith"? You know? Well, they make faith a work. That's what they do. Faith is a gift. Ephesians 2:8 says, "By faith, by grace are you saved through faith, not of works. It is a gift of God. Not of works, lest any man should boast." A lot of people are boasting about how much faith they have. You couldn't have any faith if it weren't for the fact that God gave it to you. I'll give this to Mark and have him read this chapter.
Hebrews chapter 11. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand the worlds were framed by the word of God. So the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts. And by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation he had this testimony that he pleased God. Without faith it is but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. By faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange country, dwelling in the tabernacle with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one even, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky, and multitude, the sand which is by the seashore, innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. Truly, if they'd been mindful of that country whence they came out, they might have had opportunity, have returned. Now they desire a better country that is in heavenly, before God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. By faith Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son. To him was said, and Isaac shall thy seed be called. Excuse me. Counting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. By faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph, and worshipped, leaning upon the top of the staff. By faith Joseph, when he died, they mentioned the party of the children of Israel, and gave commandment concerning his bones. By faith Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child. They were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the approach of Christ greater riches of the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured, and seen him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians dissuading to do were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. By faith By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. What shall more safe, the time should fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, valiant, and fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens, wouldn't receive their dead raised to life again. Others were tortured, not accepting deliverance so they might obtain a better resurrection. Others had trial and cruel mockings and scourgings. Yet moreover bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts, and in mountains, and in dens, and caves of the earth. These all have obtained a good report, through faith received not the promise. God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
So the next time you're chided for not having enough faith, just ask the person asking you that question where it comes from. God bless.